Everybody has heard the statistic that 90% of traders lose money, but I think that statistic is not only misleading. I think it's one of the reasons so many traders quit before they ever become profitable. Because when someone first starts trading, the beginning is already difficult enough. There's uncertainty, confusion, losing streaks, and no real guidance telling you whether you're improving or doing everything wrong. You're just looking at wins and losses and trying to make sense of it. So during that stage, the only thing keeping someone moving forward is the belief that improvement is possible. That if they keep studying, keep tracking, keep refining, they can eventually figure this out. But if the first thing a new trader hears is 90% of traders fail, now every losing trade starts to feel like confirmation instead of part of the learning curve. Instead of thinking, this is part of the process, they start thinking, maybe I'm just one of the 90%. And that belief alone makes it much easier to quit before they've even given themselves a real chance. But there's another major problem with that statistic that almost nobody talks about. Because if you actually look at what that number is measuring, something important becomes clear. It counts anyone who has ever placed a trade as a trader. Think about that for a second. That means the data includes someone who opened a broker account last week, someone who bought a stock because their friend told them to, someone who gambled on options for 3 days, and someone who quit before they ever developed any real skill. And all of those people get thrown into the exact same category as someone actually trying to master this craft. That makes no sense. That's like saying 90% of surgeons fail surgery because you included everyone who ever applied to medical school. Of course, the numbers are going to look terrible if you count people who never seriously tried. And that's why I don't like the way that statistic gets thrown around. Because not only does it ignore the traders who actually put in the work, it also makes trading sound like this impossible mountain that only a tiny group of people can ever climb. And I don't believe that. Because the truth is, most people included in that statistic were never really traders to begin with. They were people placing trades. That's different. A real trader is someone who actually treats this like a craft. A real trader studies, tracks their trades, reviews their mistakes, tests setups, collects data. Someone who is actually trying to build a repeatable edge in the market. That's a trader. Not someone who pressed buy and sell for 2 weeks and disappeared. And this is where I'll say something a lot of people might disagree with. I actually believe that most people who truly do the work can become profitable traders. Not because trading is magic. Not because the market is easy. But because once you strip away all the noise, trading itself is actually pretty simple. Find a repeatable edge, manage risk, execute consistently, and allow probability to play out over a large sample of trades. That's the game. The hard part is not usually the strategy. The hard part is execution. Because the moment real money gets involved, psychology gets involved, urgency shows up, desperation shows up, fear of missing out shows up, revenge trading shows up, oversizing shows up, and suddenly the trader stops following their system and starts following emotion. That's where most traders fall apart. Not because their strategy stopped working, but because they stopped executing it. They abandon their rules during drawdowns. They size up when they're desperate. They force trades when they're emotional. They break their plan the moment discomfort shows up. So when people say trading is hard, I think they're only half right. Trading is hard emotionally, but mechanically, trading is actually very simple. When traders are not trading on tilt, not trading out of urgency, and not trading out of desperation, trading starts to feel almost easy. Not easy because every trade wins, but easy because the job becomes clear. Wait for your setup. Take the trade. Manage the risk. Repeat. That's what professional trading actually looks like. Simple, clean, repeatable, almost boring. And that's why I don't think the 90% statistic tells the real story. Because the real problem is not that trading is impossible. The real problem is that most people quit long before they ever become traders. They quit during the learning phase. Before they've developed discipline. Before they've gathered enough data to even know if their edge works. They experience the tuition, and then they leave the school. So to me, the real statistic isn't that 90% of traders lose money. The real statistic is that most people quit before they ever become traders. And if you're someone who is actually putting in the work, studying, journaling trades, reviewing mistakes, refining execution, then that statistic should mean absolutely nothing to you. Because you're not competing with people who clicked a few buttons and gave up. You're competing with the version of yourself that wants to quit too early. That's the real battle in trading. Not indicators, not strategies, not secret entries. The real battle is whether you can stay disciplined long enough for your edge to play out. Because in this game, the edge is only half the equation. Execution is what gets paid. And execution is psychological. So stop identifying with failure before you've even done the work required to judge yourself. Build an edge. Build discipline. Execute consistently. And give probability the time it needs to work. Because trading isn't impossible. It's just unforgiving to the undisciplined version of you. And the moment you become the trader who can execute cleanly, calmly, and consistently, everything changes.